That was the craziest, most epic, best D&D session I have ever had in my life. I'm throwing it out there. That's a fact. I have players at the table that have played with me in every D&D session, in the campaign D&D session, and they would have to agree that was the craziest session I've ever ran. That was the dice told the story, the players told the story. Each player, if you go around the table, absolutely epic moment. I just got chills. I have never felt more accomplished as a dungeon master. I've never been more proud of them as a dungeon master. And I'm saying that in two tones. I've never been more proud of myself for running the game as best as I possibly could with something that I purposely pushed myself with. How many mechanics, how many puppet strings were going on, how many alternated possible scenarios were happening in the background. All of that I felt great about. And I've never been more proud of my players to take lore and remember it and hold it and act on it. Take special and unique mechanics that each character can do and use them in combined combo ways. Remember lore nuggets, all of the different stuff to combine together to have the most crazy sub to last session moment, because penultimate session, before the last session, because next session might be the last session or the one after that. We are within the last 3 sessions, and this one was absolutely bonkers. So in general, whenever I do these videos here on my second channel, I give breakdowns of how I thought the session was going to go from the Dungeon Master's perspective, and then how it actually went. And this was a doozy. So buckle up, because what I thought was going to happen was there's going to be this big, absolutely crazy combat that I knew was going on. I knew the campaign was going to end, and there's a couple of strings that were loose ends that have never came to fruition. I could have ran each of these 3 different loose ends off over the course of the next couple months, and it would have all planned out. But I took all 3 of these storylines, brought them together, because I know that these sessions need to end because my wife's pregnant and our second kid's going to be born in 4 weeks. So I was like, I have to end this session now, and it looks like it would be possible. I would not do that if it didn't look like it was going to be possible. But anyway, taking a big step back, looking at all these storylines, all these different things started to converge. There's knights. There's a Abraxas, who is viewed to be the BBEG, but is not the BBEG. Abraxas is an arc druid riding a rock, a giant condor rock, not a flying rock. That's such a terrible name for that bird. But anyway, a huge giant condor situation. That's his mount, and that creature is insane. Its attacks it was 4d12 damage. That's nuts. It was so powerful of a creature. 300 hit points. This thing was nuts. My party also, by the way, is level 6 right now. Level 6/7-ish right now. Absolutely insane. This was a absolutely double, triple, quadruple deadly fight. So Abraxas and this giant rock, that's one part of the fight. That's one team of the bad guys. And then the second team of the bad guys were the 2 Knights Bane, which you think they would be on the same team, but if you knew the lore and you knew the background, they're actually not on the same team. And the Knights Bane are these followers, viewed to be followers of Abraxas. They've always looked like they're henchmen, but they have always had different goals and motives than Abraxas. And the players finally saw it showcased in them not working together, him bossing them around and them not listening, and them talking about him and them always referring to him. They've always thought that him was Abraxas, but actually it's someone else. It's the Architect of Nightmare, but we'll get to that next session. So anyway, these 2 Knights Bane were acting on their own. One fire themed one lightning themed one. They could summon lightning elementals. They could put debuffs on each other. They could do on the players. Lots of different stuff that they could do. So that's evil team number 2. So an arc druid and a rock. 2 Knights Bane, which are essentially like elemental themed, like shadow wraith mages, right? And then theme number 3 was 2 shapeshifters, very, very powerful shapeshifters. Broadstone, who is one of the good NPCs from early on in the session. He's one of the leaders of the military from where the nation they're from. Turns out he's actually evil. And there was another Roscoe, another Furbolg shapeshifter from one of the other players' backstories, who was on team 3, and each of the teams had different motives. So as the Dungeon Master, I really liked, it was so much fun to run this, and again, best session ever. I had 3 different very powerful evil teams, but they aren't working together. So whenever you're trying to balance things and like, how do I balance that encounter? How the heck do you know if, as far as balancing the numbers there, they're not on the same team. So how do you balance that? They could have maybe even gone against each other. They didn't end up fighting. Well, they kind of, We'll get into that. But these three different teams have different goals. The Abraxas's goal, the Archdruid's goal, was to try and kill them. He just wanted revenge on them for undoing his plan. He's very selfish and lost it mentally. The Knight's Bane are serving someone else. They're serving the evil one, the big higher actual BBEG type situation. They are trying to kill Clara, the artificer. She was their target, and that's all they cared about, and they were trying to kill her at all costs. And the final team was trying to kill the white dragon that they just saved. If you saw last episode, they went down and they saved a white dragon, and bringing that white dragon back up, the furbolgs, the shapeshifters, were trying to kill that white dragon. Alternative win condition, right? So in all of this is all happening at the same time against my 5 players who are, man, they just killed it. Absolutely killed it. So, where do I even start here? This is absolutely crazy. So, how the whole thing starts off is, and I'm not going to go a huge play-by-play because that would take too long, so I'm going to give you the big overarching thing, but wow, was this amazing. At the very start of the fight, Ivar gets taken into the nightmare plane. Some also background there is a nightmare plane and there's the material plane. The nightmare plane is this dark shifted, imagine the Shadowfell basically. But the Knight's Bane took Ivar to that shadow plane, and it was Ivar and the 2 Knight's Bane 2-on-1, not looking good. But Clara also, through some of her powers, had synced up with Ivar, and she's able to reach out and sync up with other people's powers because she's the Dream Champion, which is why she was the target of the Knight's Bane. The Knight's Bane are trying to kill her because she is the chosen one of the Dreamers, and these people are the Nightmare people, Quarry and Lavishtar, 2 different races. It's a whole thing. So they're trying to kill her, and she shifts also accidentally, just by happenstance from certain other things, is also in the Nightmare Plane. So we start off the fight with both Ivar and Clara, the fighter and the artificer, in the Nightmare Plane with the 2 Knight's Bane. So it's a 2-on-2 battle right there. And in the other plane is everyone else. But there's a twist. There's an alternate win condition, because based on the lore and a lot of other stuff that you'd have to watch the background here for, Abraxas, when Abraxas is killed, his nightmare spirit leaves his body in the nightmare plane. So all these times and all these different cycles of these generations where this problems happen, where all these nations are here and they get forgotten, and then this cycle keeps repeating itself. This nightmare grows and then it's taken out, but then it respawns and grows, and it keeps repeating itself over and over and over. Because whenever they kill this person, this evil one that they're eventually able to outdo and kill in the nightmare plane, their spirit, the nightmare spirit, is still respawned. Kind of like demons, you know how demons respawn and back to hell, and it never stops. Same type situation. The players figured this out literally last session, and they said, as soon as we kill Abraxas, somebody needs to be in the nightmare plane to stop whatever that is, and we need to kill that thing, and that will truly end it. And so they did such a good job of that. So that's another alternate win condition that they won. So to give a play-by-play, I'm going to do it from the perspective of each player of what actually happened, because they all killed it. And that's just another little timeout moment of they all killed it. Each one of them. My goal as a Dungeon Master is to have like each session, at least one player have a solid spotlight of like, wow, like a really big moment for them. And I over time and over multiple sessions, that spotlight shifts around. Never has a spotlight shined brighter on each player in one session, in one combat. Literally all of them killed it. Without each of them doing epic things, none of that would have happened. So here we go. Basically, of my 5 players, we'll start off with, who do we start off with? We'll start off with Q. Q is a Warforged Barbarian. He is a Wild Magic Surge Barbarian. My Wild Magic Surge table, I did a video on that on my main channel. And when I said, all right, it's time for you to rage, shift into your rage, what do you got? And roll your D20. And on the D20, you roll the D20 and there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens. He rolls a natural 20. On the Wild Magic Surge Barbarian table, what that says and what that does is you can copy the powers of any creature around you, and you take on their powers, and you're able to gain some sort of flavor in the moment. It's a very impromptu thing as a Dungeon Master for what that means. It's almost like reading tarot cards. Like, what does that mean? You know, like, what creature are you doing? So I gave him a couple options, but what's interesting is last session, there was a white dragon that he Jaegered himself into. Like, he shunted his body and took control of it. His body went limp and fell to the ground, and he put his consciousness into that white dragon, which was an ally, and he was totally able to do that. He saw the rock. the giant, huge condor bird. This thing. He saw this massive miniature right here, awesomely painted by his wife, dare I say, just for the record, right? This thing. He sees that and he's like, I want to possess the rock. And I was like, oh my God. And he knows how much I respect natural 20s. This is a wild magic surge barbarian. It makes sense based on everything that's happened up to this point. So I was like, all right, here we go. So his body, Q's body, the barbarian's body, drops to the floor and he jumps into the rock. I literally hand him the index card of what the rock can do. He could see it all. And he was the rock for the rest of the session. He took my gigantic rock with 300 health, 4d12 attacks, 3d12 attacks, wing buffets, legend, all these things. And he took it from me and he piloted into that. Now, granted, his body hit the ground. Keep that in mind, though, because that actually is going to come back up here in a second. And he proceeds to, in that bird, go through, turn back against the Braxis, flap and fight against the Braxis, pin a Braxis down to the ground, bite other things' heads off. Absolutely crazy. He went nuts on everybody. It was crazy. So that's what Q did. What Clara did is... oh man. Actually, I'll save what Clara for last. So Darius is this wind mage. He's this wind mage, sorcerer, druid type of character. And he's flying up into the air. The rock's now taken care of so he can fly around because he wasn't able to when the rock was a big threat. And he is hold personing like a champion. And he hold persons Broadstone, which is this Furbolg shapeshifter. The thing with shapeshifters is once they shapeshift, they gain all this temporary hit points from their new form. He held person out the gate as a surprise round on Broadstone. So Broadstone is now held personed and they have one round. And I was like, you guys get one round on this. And he's going to shift. What he had this whole thing is I had 5 different miniatures lined up. And each round he was going to shapeshift into a bigger and badder and stronger and scarier one. I had a Manticore miniature for the final one. It was going to be nuts. He was going to shapeshift each round. They wombo combo him in a round, in one round, basically. Now, he had a ton of health, but he's held personed, and he had 150 hit points, but they still were able to get through 150 hit points worth because Odin just went straight to him and went at him and just absolutely went. And even Darius did some damage to him. Everyone came together to do damage to this guy. Clara came across and did some damage to him. Clara's Battlesmith cat did some damage to him. They were able to get him, and I had it down to, I was like, he has 8 health, and there's one last attack left, and they dealt 11 damage to him, so they got him in one round, and he was going to be able to shapeshift and get all his temporary hit points and all this kind of stuff, and they wombo comboed him in one round. Absolutely crazy. So I gotta save up for Clara because Clara had this crazy moment. So that's Darius coming in, hold personing people, and then I gotta stop on Darius. And then Ivar started the thing off with a natural 20 on a swing crit on both of the Nightsbane. The Nightsbane are going for Clara. They're trying to stop Ivar. Ivar attacks both of them, critting them, shifts into the material plane, runs towards them, shifts back to the nightmare planes, like using blink back and forth to shift in and out of this thing as he's attacking them, shifting, running toward. It's crazy. He's like a blink back and forth this whole time as he's hacking through these Nightbane to save Clara. They're chasing after Clara, but Clara's eluding them some, and then she gets caught in the center. And I will again say what happened to Clara here in a second. So Ivar's hacking through the Nightsbane, just going crazy on these guys, and then sees that they're taken care of and goes over to Abraxas and starts hacking at Abraxas, and gets him to leave. And then, oh my God, this is so hard to explain because it's so crazy. So I gotta say what Clara did. Clara, I was targeting. I was specifically trying to kill Clara. Another thing that I had going on in the background, because if this sounds like it's not fair and with all the things that I had thrown at them, one thing that I did, and I thought this was interesting, is they just came back. Everyone, they're around a bunch of their NPC friends. They have an army that's like in the waiting for them to come back. They went into these ruins and they came back out. Everyone knows that they're coming out, but they haven't seen them yet. So at some point it would make sense for NPCs to be coming back to check on them, right? So I was like, well, when would they come back? What round would it be? I don't know. I want to base it off a round. So how I did it is I told them at the beginning it's not just your lives that are at risk here. And I didn't tell them this, but the mechanic was if they ever drop to 0, if they ever take damage that would drop them to 0, I was going to bring in an NPC to save them, but it would kill that NPC. Ooh, dirty, right? So I use their NPCs and backstory loved ones against them. I did the same thing in the campaign 1, where they build up these loved ones and I find a way to use that as ammo against them, which sounds very, very mean and manipulative, but I'm a dungeon master. Who knows? So what happened, and I made sure it makes sense because it was only loved ones that they had that were near them and around them, right? So what happened was Odin was about to go down. And then Barnabas, his backstory mentor, father figure, comes in, shoves him out of the way, and takes the blast. Now, it makes sense that Barnabas would be there. It's not just some Deus Ex Machina, like, whoa, this doesn't make sense. It makes sense for him to be there because he was in the wings waiting for all these people, this entire campsite of people waiting for them. They succeed the mission. He's running back to get there, and that just happens to be when he shows up. And it was a story fitting moment. And if it's like too Deus Ex Machina for some people, it was even kind of funny at the tail, like, oh my God, wait, what? So it was a cool moment. And I loved it mechanically. I loved it thematically and story wise. So he comes in, saves him, but he's like, goes unconscious on the ground. He's like, oh my God, no. And then that's when everybody else at the table is like, oh my God, wait, does that mean if I go down, one of my loved ones is going to come save me? Oh crap. And the whole combat escalated once they figured that out. Wait, who's going to come save me? Oh, no. So they tried to keep themselves safe so that they didn't have that happen, right? So anyway, I thought that was really interesting. A little bit meta, but I thought that was really interesting and really fun. So here's what Clara did. Claire's in a bad spot. She's running from the two Knightsbane. She's in the center. She's the only one in the center because I had another mechanic. See what I'm saying about all these different mechanics that I had to puppeteer and go over? I had another mechanic where at the top of every round, Abraxas shot a disintegrate at a player. As a layer action, apex action, top of the round situation, just shot a disintegrate at a player. 10d6 plus 40. These are level 6 characters, right? So you're probably going down, right? And I did it every time. Whoever was the target that made the most sense. And Clara, after all the running around, she was right there in the dead center. And he was going to shoot one of her. And it could have killed her also. She has low enough health where if I rolled damage, it could have dealt ×2 damage and instantly killed her in one hit. So I was like, here's how this is going to go. You get one dexterity saving throw. DC is 18. If you get hit by this, you're going to get knocked out and blah, 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 blah. But if you save, you take 0 damage because that's how disintegrate works. Everybody always forgets that. But anyway, she rolls natural 20. Now, there's just so many. And that's one thing I kind of even forgot to say. There were more natural 20s from my players than any time I've ever seen. There was at least 10 in one session, in one combat, at least 10 natural 20s. Absolutely crazy. So he fires off at her. She misses it. Absolutely dodges it. Natural 20, Matrix style. She saw it coming, all that kind of stuff. And that was just the start of the natural 20s. And Ivar natural 20 on initiative. Darius natural 20'd on his spell check, which I use the alternate magic system. His spell check for his whole person, he natural 20'd on that. Absolutely crazy. And if you understand, I'm going to make a video on my magic system and all this kind of stuff because it was absolutely crazy. But anyway, that was the thing I forgot to tell my player about is the natural. Okay, sorry, I have to call my player after this. But anyway, Claire's in a rough spot. She's in the middle of the battlefield. Both Knightsbane are on her. They summon 2 elementals that are both on her as well. She's in the center with vines that Abraxas is targeting her, and Abraxas is shooting the thing at her. He missed, but she's still in a rough spot. She's in a really, really rough spot. She is at 8 health. The next hit is going to take her out. And she's like, it's her turn now. I was like, all right, it's your turn now. And as a bonus action, she can reach out to others. That's why she was able to shift into the nightmare plane because she reached out to Ivar and she's able to copy other people's powers. It's something she's able to do as a dream, etc. It's a mechanics thing. As a bonus action, she can reach out to others and flavor twist what she can do through their powers. If she reaches out to Darius, she'd be able to do wind type stuff. If she reaches, etc. Right? She's like, Q's body's right there, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, wait a second. And everyone at the table understood what was happening. Q's body fell to the ground and he jumped his consciousness into this rock that's now flying around. Clara could reach out to Q and jump into Q's body. And I was like, oh my God, this is about to happen. So she did it. She jumped into Q's body and she's in Q's body now. And I was like, also side note, if you guys remember, Q has the Grassland Nation Warforge's Dream Crystal in his hand right now. And he never did anything with it. He just like shifted into the rock right off the bat, right? She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna smash it into smash it into my chest." And what's so hilarious is these Dream Crystals, Warforged run on Dream Crystals, and if you accumulate them like Infinity Stones, you can put them into his chest, and he gets stronger. And the more he collects, he gets stronger and stronger. It's been a mechanic that's been established throughout the entire campaign. But she has a full Dream Crystal, and if she does this, he's going to explode. Every time he's exploded, they've always had to figure out a way to avoid the explosion. She's like, no, I'm going to use this. So Clara's body, the artificer's body, drops to the floor. She mind controls, shifts her consciousness into Q's body, who runs over, jumps on top of her to save her, hits the crystal, explosion, right? See how it explains? Clara's body drops. She goes into Q's body. In Q's body, she jumps over her own body to save it. Hits the crystal. Huge explosion. 40 plus damage dealt to everybody. Insane explosion. The elemental dies. All these other people get messed up by it. Absolutely crazy. She saves her own body. Picks her body up from this with the rest of her movement. Runs into a nearby situation. Drops her body down a tunnel. Or drops her body down the stairs, turns around to protect her own body in Q's body. What? How is this game? What? Right? So crazy. Then, while all of this is going on is when everything else is happening from all the other stuff that's going on. And then the Nightsbane are chasing after her body. And there's a moment where they're going after her body and they're trying to get past her and everything. And she's like, but I want to like protect my body. So how this was, is she was at the front of the stairs with the two Nightsbane trying to get past her. They already used their Misty Steps to get to her. And now they're trying to get down the stairs past her. Right. I was like, this is going to be an athletics check. It's going to be one of your athletics check versus mine. And it's just a one-on-one thing. Can they get around you? They're going to acrobatics versus your. And I said, let me roll mine first. So in front of the table, I roll a D20, natural 20. I hit a natural 20. Everybody's like, oh, no. He's going to attack her. He's going to attack Clara and basically kill Clara. Like they are trying to kill her. So he was going to be able to do that. I was like, all right, you can roll with advantage because you're a barbarian and you're raging, all that kind of stuff. You would have advantage on this, but you have to hit a natural 20. And at this point in time, there'd already been 8 or 9 natural 20s. So I was like, there's no way. I was like, you have to hit a natural 20. She rolls it, hits a natural 20. Absolutely crazy. Everyone freaks out at the table. People standing up. Like, it was absolutely crazy. They're like, no freaking way. And she catches both of Nightsbane and saves herself again through Q's body, who she's piloting into right now. Absolutely crazy. And then now to the finale of this whole thing, Darius, in a moment of again, respecting the lore, remembering the plan, sticking to it. He flies down and he needs to get to the nightmare plane, but he can't. He has to have someone that's sleeping to be able to get into their dreams. Clara's sleeping because her body that she flopped down into and went into Q. Clara's body is sleeping. He can access the nightmare plane through her sleeping body because he's a dreamwalker. So, it's crazy. Darius flies to Clara's body, touches Clara's body, charisma check, natural 20 on the charisma check to be able to shunt into the nightmare plane. Gets into the nightmare plane and he sees Abraxas. Just as Odin, who they've found out that Odin in his lycanthropy werewolf form deals super mega damage to Abraxas, because that's a whole nother mechanic system of why those things are opposites. It's like super effective Pokemon terms, right? Odin kills Abraxas, his human form Abraxas. Odin kills Abraxas, and then his spirit is released into the nightmare plane. But Darius is right there in the nightmare plane. Darius, in this moment, we have a spell system where whenever you cast a spell, you roll a d20, you have to make a check for it, and it has to beat, just like an attack roll, has to beat a certain mental class, armor class, magic class. So he knows this check has to beat something big, because this thing that just got released out of Abraxas is a key to the end, right? So he's like, all right, I'm going to tap into my eye. He used literally every ability he had. Every single thing I've ever given him, every feature, every bonus perk, every magic item, everything he's ever had, he poured it all into this one moment. He had inspiration dice. He used them all. And he got his roll up to a 32. And the DC was 30. And he held him in place. And I was like, okay, wow. Are they about to get this guy? Because my full plan was that he would escape and he'd go to the final boss fight, and he would go to the end, and that's where they would fight him at the end, and the final boss fight would be this thing, and he would leave, and they'd see him at the end. But are they going to be able to kill him right here? So Darius hits a 30, and then Ivar's in the nightmare plane. He needs the roll, because how the blink spell works is you roll a d20, and it depends on the d20 if you shift into the ethereal plane or not. In this case, it's the nightmare plane, because it's this campaign's magic, flavored spell checks. Anyway, so he has to roll high on the d20. He rolls it. He rolls high on the d20, and he gets an attack. He gets 2 attacks, and I wrote down. I did a pull the Brennan Lee Mulligan. I wrote down how much health the guy had, which was 50. I wrote down 50, and I put it down. And I was like, all right, let's see how much damage you can deal to him, and see if you can kill him. You have 1 shot to kill him here. And then he dealt 53 damage, and I turned around the card, and it said 50, and he got him. He freaking got him. So absolutely crazy, absolutely bonkers. He did it. And they killed Abraxas's evil, corrupted nightmare spirit and stopped the cycle. So the cycle that keeps repeating, they have severed that cycle, and it will no longer repeat. And that is a first huge big step to ending it all. And now what they all realized is you have saved the cycle from repeating, but now you have to save this cycle from ending. So you've saved the potential second cycle, and it's now not going to repeat itself. But you got to save the world now. So let's see if they can do that in the next session, because man, oh man, are we in for it. And what a crazy session. I don't know if any of that made sense to you guys. If you do and are interested in these crazy stories and you want to see us play live, let me know. I know there's a bunch of people that do want to subscribe for that in the future, because that is something that is going to come, and that I am going to film these things, whether it be next session or the one after that or whatever. I want to film the campaign. So I want to do this for the next campaign, but I need a lot more things to set up and get ready for that to make sure it's a good quality production for you guys. Yeah, we are probably 2 sessions away. What I'm thinking now is going to happen is next session, they are going to deal with the aftermath of all the memories coming back. They have to go to the mountain nation to save a black dragon, and once they release the black dragon, all 5 dragons will be saved, and the 5 dragons, which are the 5 colors of Tiamat, the 5 dragons can go seal away the Demogorgon that's running around, take care of that, and then they will be able to go to the desert nation, to go to the Temple of Dreams, to fight the Nightmare Architect, who's the true BBEG, and a Clockwork Dragon Warforged, Metal Dragon Construct Warforged, all at the same time. So yeah, that'll be a doozy. And I think that's probably going to be 2 sessions. I'll probably orchestrate it to where it'll be maybe a shorter session, and they do their downtime stuff. They go and they travel and they get every these different things done, and then we set up, and I maybe even throw down the battle mat, show everything there, and we end the session there, and we pick it up in the final session. So dang! Stay creative, because man, this session was outside the box. Peace.